Welcome back. The show's called Brand Equity, and I'm Sonali Krishna. Here's some good news. 2015 was the best year for ad spend growth India has witnessed in the last 5 years, according to Group M's Adex report. And 2016, despite the global headwinds, also seems to pose a very optimistic outlook. Increasing spends of e-commerce players, coupled with the advent of 4G services in India, seem to be key factors that Group M believes will ensure the upward trajectory of growth in 2016 as well. I caught up with Group M CEO Srinivas to shed more light on this. Listen in. First things first, I'd like you to, go through the year gone by, 2015, and really critique that in terms of, what was good, bad, and ugly in 2015 when one talks of, Adex.
Okay. So we put out a forecast of a 12.7% growth for 2015 over 2014, and we do it for the calendar year. And the year actually played out pretty well, and we ended the year at a 14.2% growth over the previous year. So actually it was a much better year than not just what we expected, but what most of the people or industry watchers expected. What worked well for the Adex last year? I think firstly, there was a huge spurt in spends by the e-com sector. E-com as a category almost came from nowhere because they were hardly present 2-3 years ago. And today, by virtue of what they've done, especially last year and a little bit year before, they've already account for about, close to 8% of the total Adex, and it makes them
8% of the total Adex of, let's say, 2015.
Of close to 50,000 crores. So e-com is almost 8%, and therefore it figures amongst one of the top 3 categories of advertisers. So one was clearly the spurt in e-com spends. The other was FMCG. I mean, all said and done, FMCG even today is nearly 30% of the total Adex. And as long as FMCG grows in decent double digits, 12, 13, 14%, you can expect that the Adex will show a good number. So there were some issues the sector was going through, and early last year, some of us took a bit of a conservative view on the sector. But the way it played out, they continue to invest behind brands, they continue to invest in smaller towns and rural markets, etc., to try and push volume demand, and that ended up also working well for the ad sector. So I would say, most of the contribution has come from these 2 sectors, and not to forget, to some extent, there was, a decent growth with auto as well.
Tell me, in 2015, if you look at the total Adex, how much was the digital quotient?
In 2015, digital ended up being close to 10% of the total Adex, and it grew at at about between 35 and 40%. Again, broadly in line with what we expected. And I think the big shift that's happened in 2015 as far as digital is concerned is the emergence of mobile now as the platform. And we believe in 2015 mobile became more than half the digital spend. Actually, this year we projected an even higher growth for digital, again largely led by mobile. We're looking at almost a 48% growth, and digital going up from close to 10% of the Adex to close to 13% of the Adex.
So the other question I had on mobile and mobile advertising per se, that this seems to be a common complaint by global advertisers who are obviously much more advanced and nuanced in usage of mobile as an advertising medium. So given that, I mean, they seem to have a concern that there is no measurement system for mobile, and that's really a cause of concern. How are Indian advertisers, reacting to the lack of measurement because of the fact that they're a lot more, cautious about how they spend their money?
Right, very true. No, it's a very, very, very valid question, and this is something we get asked all the time. So one of the initiatives that we've taken as Group M is we're working very closely with MMA. In fact, we brought the MMA to India. MMA is the Mobile Marketing Association. This is a body that exists in almost all the major markets, and surprise, surprise, never came up and opened up shop in India. So we've helped incubate MMA last year, and towards the end of last year, we've got a board which is now headed by Kumar of Pepsi. And then at some stage, obviously, we would like to work closely with all the other stakeholders because you have numerous measurement systems in the country. And I think at some stage, whether you're measuring TV or whether you're measuring print or any other media, at some stage you'll have to think of measuring consumption on digital and therefore on mobile as well. And at least from an MMA perspective, I can say that measurement and metrics and standards and formats is uppermost on our mind.
So mobile is one aspect, but you're very right, even digital. For instance, everybody has their own analytics, right? So it's you're the player and the referee. How is the Indian clientele really taking to digital? Everybody is, of course, doing it because it's the in thing to do. But how many are convinced that, this is the right way to go, and the numbers that are being shown to them are, actually authentic?
Yeah, I think up till now, the way the industry has grown is more by, let's test, let's experiment, let's figure out, let's check it out, let's see whether it works or not, and so on. And to some extent, if it's more performance-led campaign, then there are some metrics which are kind of built into it. But from here onwards, if one wants to see brands scaling up their presence on digital, then one obviously has to answer the questions that you've asked and put measures in place, get industry bodies together. And we're trying to do our bit, as not just as Group M, but even on some of the industry bodies that I sit on. We're trying to actually, first of all, get everybody to come to a point where they say that this is something which is absolutely necessary now. And whether it's the ABC, which is recently announced that they will start getting into digital measurement for publications which are online, or whether it's BARC, which is very shortly going to get into digital measurement as well. So at least there are some of these bodies which are thinking about it and which are going to start doing it towards the end of this year or early next year. And I think at some level we then have to get together as an industry and start creating some kind of metrics and standards.
Give me a sense of how 2016 is looking via your forecasts for in terms of the media mix.
Okay, in terms of media mix, we're not seeing any major shifts from 2015, because these things typically play out over a 5 year period. TV is going to end up being close to 47% of the total Adex by the end of 2016, and digital is going to take a share of close to 13%, so 12.7 or thereabouts. So digital and TV together is going to look like 60% of the total Adex, and print is going to take up close to 30% share. So even today in India, print is a fairly large medium, obviously largely composed of the newspaper segment, and then you have the rest of the media playing out to grab the rest of the share. The trend going forward is we see the TV plus digital pie of 60 going up very soon to 70 and 80. And it'll be very interesting to see what is going to be the interplay between the two media.
I just want to know that so the estimated end of 2016 we'll end at what figure is that? It's 15.5%.
It's about a 15.5% growth, taking up the total Adex to roughly 57,000 crores.
57,000.
Sorry, yeah.
How are you so optimistic, given that we've entered 2016 on a pretty bad wicket, given what we're seeing happen globally? So how do you still give us such an optimistic figure?
Firstly, we must remember we're coming off the back of a 14.2% growth year. So 2015 we grew at 14.2%. And by all accounts, I mean, you read any report, you talk to anybody, India, everybody says, is going to be the fastest growing economy amongst all the economies, the larger economies in the world in the year 2016. And the GDP projections for the year, even today, I mean, even if you look at the latest numbers put out as of last week, are hovering between 7 and 7.5%. But having said that, estimating and predicting is something which is always a risk, and there's always a chance that you would go off the mark. So what we do at Group M is we typically revisit our numbers towards the middle of the year. So what we would do is around the month of July, we would have a fair sense of how the first 4-5 months have gone. And what we will do is we will take actual data and we will go back and test all the hypotheses that we have and see if we need to come up with a fresh guidance for the year.
Shini, candid question. Isn't it investing in digital, like when a client invests in digital, isn't it lesser money for the agency as opposed to, let's say, investing in, let's say, TV or newspapers or anything, traditional media per se? Doesn't it mean less money for the agency because it's a cheaper platform or a cheaper medium?
Many years ago when the whole media agency, industry kind of took off, media agencies those days were looked at as the ones who, managed all the throughput, and obviously, there were the whole commission model or whatever else which came into being. I think we've evolved quite a bit from there onwards. In fact, forget media agency remuneration models for a moment and just look at the whole focus of moving from, measuring outputs to outcomes. Today, advertisers or marketers who put money behind campaigns are more interested in knowing what has it done for the business, what has it done for the brand, has it done anything to arrest my share declines, what has it done to my brand health measures and so on. So at an overall level, As an agency, I like the fact that we are actually, evaluated and remunerated for the intelligence that we bring to the table.
I see. So I get what you're saying. So essentially what you're telling me there is that today, for instance, e-commerce as a category, media spends explode.
Right.
It has absolutely no impact on media agencies who have those clients.
Yeah, I would say by and large, the impact is more in terms of the business results that you generate and not the amount of money the client spends or the sector spends. I think it's a good thing that first and foremost agencies are being recognized for their intelligence more than anything else.
Sure.
And the fact
Not
that
traders,
they can,
yeah.
exactly, not just traders or managers of throughput. And they're being looked at as partners who can truly come and add value to a business and to a brand.
On that note, thank you so much, Srini. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.